Hey, I'm Geeky Pastimes, and I wanted to share 10 tips for doing well in Hunter's Arena Legends. Now, we've been playing this for a while. You might have seen my other video about it where I talked about how good it is. I'm absolutely loving it. As a disclaimer, I am playing on PC with a 3080. I've heard some people saying there's performance issues on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Hopefully those will get ironed out, but on PC it runs really well. Also, I've seen people saying, oh, there's not that many people playing. And if you look on Steam charts, they're right. There's not that many people playing. But we didn't have any trouble finding games. I was just streaming it for about 4 hours, didn't have any trouble finding a game at all. We've worked our way up to gold in ranked, so I think we've kind of learned how to, how to play this fairly well. We've won a couple of games, so won a handful of games, which has been really, really good. So I'll try and explain to you the things that we've been doing to get those wins to do really, really well. So the first one, play as MOMO. Like, MOMO is insanely good. If you're playing as a trio, it makes sense to have kind of a bit of a mix, having someone who's maybe a bit more tanky, someone who can maybe do some slows and stuns. But if you're playing by yourself, MOMO seems like the best character at the moment, to the point where she'll probably be nerfed at some point soon. She has really, really good ranged abilities. Her basic abilities are ranged, and that means that you can actually do quite a lot of kind of dodging backwards and then firing a few ranged abilities and almost kiting enemies that can't even get close to you. And she has an amazing level 10 ability where you press on the Xbox controller, it's LB and A, so I'm guessing L1 and X on PlayStation, where you send a projectile out that's quite slow, but if it hits someone, it sends like a fan of blades out, and anyone inside gets damaged a lot. This is crazy good in a team fight. If you can send that into a middle of a team fight and enemies don't really realize, you'll drain their health so fast. But yeah, MOMO seems to be where it's at for character choice. For number 2, you should be constantly getting XP and gear from mobs or chests or players. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. All of those things get you XP, because even in the chests, you get the books that gives you XP. If you're not doing something, if you're not killing something or opening chests, then you're falling behind. And these games are short. Like, the games we've won have been about 14 minutes long. So you really have to be like, from the moment you go, jump out, you can press square on the PlayStation controller or X on the Xbox controller to drop straight down while you're dropping, and just get to fighting. Because if you've got a level advantage, you're going to do much better against players. If you're on your way somewhere, kill everything on the way. Don't just miss mobs because you think, oh, they're low level. All of that XP does matter. The third tip is that merchants are useful, but only really at the end of the game. And I say this because while you sometimes can buy stuff early on, if you come across a merchant and you start messing around in menus and stuff like that early in the game when there's still a lot of players about, you're very likely to just get destroyed. Like, someone could kill you while you're still in the menus. But if you're near the end game in this actually quietens down a little bit, because a lot of the players are dead, you end up with not that many teams left and quite a big space. Then it's worth finding a merchant when you're about level 18, 20. You'll probably have tons of resources, tons of gold, some of those crystals. Some of them use the gold, some of them use crystals. And you can go and level your gear. You can use a blacksmith to sort of improve it. You can go and buy gear to fill in any gaps. It's a really useful thing to do, but it's not really worth worrying about until you're quite late into the game. The fourth tip is, and this should be obvious, but I had lots of comments that made it seem like this maybe isn't obvious, play solos if you are solo. If you're in a pair or in trios, obviously you're going to need to play trios. But I've seen loads of people saying that they were playing by themselves and they went into trios because, normally in Battle Royale games, it's a little bit less pressure if, you're playing in a big group of people, even if you're not speaking to them. In this, a coordinated trio can absolutely demolish a single player. Even a pair can demolish a single player super easily. So if you're in trios and you're not following the rest of your team, or they're not paying attention to you because you're not on voice comms and things like that, you will get absolutely wrecked. If you're in solos, obviously it's a bit more of a fair fight. So really, really think about, I know solos is more stressful and everything, but really think about playing solos if you are by yourself, and then only go into trios if you're in a group that can communicate. The fifth tip is that rezzing is super easy and often overlooked. I think there's some people that don't know how to res people. Basically, if a teammate just gets down, so they've got like their health bar goes red and they're kind of limping, you can go up to them and heal them. And it actually takes a little while, but you can do it. And then they get to keep all their stuff. If they've been completely killed, there will be a green orb dropped behind them. You can just run over that. You don't even need to interact with it, and it will start following you. Then you just take it to one of the health places, the res places, which is just like a little white cross on the map. Go up there and interact with it. It takes like 3 seconds. It's super fast. And then you'll res them. They'll get all of their XP back and everything like that. They just don't get to keep their gear. This is really fast. If you're in a trios and you have 2 green orbs, both your teammates are dead, you actually res them both at the same time. You don't need to do it twice to res them. So you can actually get back in the game quite spectacularly just by doing this. And I see a lot of people not picking the orbs up or not bothering them. Obviously, you can use this to your advantage as well. You can camp the orbs, so when someone comes back to get it, you know they're going to be at least 1 player down. So you can do stuff like that. And you can even, if you're really horrible, you could camp the rezzing place, because sometimes we've seen people rezzing someone and been able to like go and ambush them. But bear in mind, if they do get a player back, that player will come back at full health, and they don't have any gear, but they do have all of their levels. Number 6 is, while you're chasing down an enemy, always run directly behind them. There's a slipstream mechanic in this. I've seen lots of people in the comments to my previous video saying that they couldn't catch up to people, that people were running away from them and they couldn't quite make it to catch up to them. Because of the slipstream mechanic, if you're running pretty much directly behind them, you will run faster than them, and that means you can always catch up to them. You have to be pretty close and then use your abilities. Remember, if you use your magic ability twice, you'll stun them, and then that can open them up to all of your other attacks. And some characters have special attacks that are quite good for stunning them as well. If you're on the other side of that, tip 7 is, if you're running away, use the air vents and zip lines to try and confuse your enemies. You can't outrun an enemy that's chasing you. It's impossible. But what you can do is use things like the air vents to sort of throw yourself up in the air, then double back. You can use the zip lines to run up them, run down them, and drop off them at unpredictable times. You need to try and make them lose you. Another thing you can do is to try and find another team if they're nearby, run towards another team, and try and get those 2 teams fighting. A lot of the time, I've been able to heal just because the other teams weren't paying any attention to me. Number 8, height advantage is real. If you can get above an enemy team or an enemy player, you can jump off and then do a sort of melee attack on your way down, and you'll do a ton of damage and stun them for a moment, so that can open them up to more attacks. It's really, really powerful. You can even do it in a group fight. If you're fighting near some stairs, just run up the stairs, jump off and do another attack, and it'll do a lot of damage. It seems really, really powerful at the moment. So always try to keep the high ground. Also, you don't want people dropping off down on you. So if you're getting near the end of the circle, just get as high up as you possibly can. It's not always obvious where you can climb up. Sometimes there's like little broken walls and stuff that you can actually just keep on hopping up if you want to. Number 9, the stun escape, which is where you press the 2 shoulder buttons, L1 and R1 on a PlayStation controller, LB and RB on a Xbox controller, is insanely powerful, and it should be used super carefully, because I don't know how long it takes to recharge. We don't seem to get it very often. Lots of people use it like as soon as they start getting hit, and then it doesn't really give them that much of an advantage. It just stops that first combo. If you can use it in a group fight when loads of people are hitting you, you'll actually stun a bunch of people all at once. And then if you've got some cooldowns ready, or your team's got some cooldowns ready, you can often just win the fight there. So try to save that for a moment where you think there's a lot of enemies near you, that you're going to be able to get the most out of it, and then make sure you let your teammates know when you're about to use it if you're playing in trios, because then you can often end up just destroying people super quickly, even if you've got very little health, because they won't have time to react. And the last one, number 10, is you can move through the zone to escape people, res people, or grab some gear. And I mean the zone outside the circle where you're playing. It doesn't really do that much damage, and it moves super slowly. It's quite easy to get out of it. And it's also quite predictable damage, so you can see it ticking by and you can get a sense of how long you can be in there. You can see perfectly well in there. It doesn't slow you down or anything like that. So it's often the right move to go through that. I use it a lot to res people. I'll run out of the zone quite a long way to go get to a res station to res people. Sometimes I just use it if I'm being chased by enemies. A lot of enemies are scared to run through it, so you can run out there, then come back in somewhere else and heal. You can actually, using your potion, you can heal while you're in the zone, and you'll be able to out heal the damage it does, even right near the end of the game. So don't be afraid to go into the zone, and because other teams are afraid to go in the zone, it could give you a massive advantage. So hopefully some of these tips help you. Hopefully you have more success in Hunters Arena Legends. It's really awesome to see people responding positively to what I was saying about it the other day. I'm really impressed by this game. I love it. It feels like a breath of fresh air. It's such a good Battle Royale game, and something incredibly different from games like Warzone, which is what I wanted. I wanted something that's a bit refreshing, a bit different. If these tips are useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've got your own tips or your own advice, there's loads of stuff we haven't really covered in here about like enchanting, getting different items and things. Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to learn more about this game and to get better at it. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.